be kind to one another, purify their souls, and make their hearts to be free and detached. Illumine the world of their consciousness, exhilarate their spirits, and bestow celestial power and confirmation upon them. Establish there a heavenly realm so that the city of Baha may prosper and New York be favored with blessings from the Abba Kingdom, that this region may become like the all highest paradise, may develop into a vineyard of God, and be transformed into a heavenly orchard. And a spiritual rose
Was beautiful. Brings back memories. Wonderful days.
Thank you, dear friends, for joining us. We're very excited to welcome back Dr. Hussein Ahdieh for part 2 of his talk, A Foreigner from an Iranian Village to New York City and the Lights That Led the Way.
Actually, I refer to the part 1 of the story of the book Foreigner as living a sad society, even though as a Baha'i and as a citizen of Iran originally, we do love that country because it's a place that Baha'u'llah was born and bowed, and it's a beautiful place. But because of the harassment and the oppression that myself and others, family members, have gone through, it has not been necessarily a very pleasant experiences. So coming to America for a variety of reasons, I came mostly to pursue my education, but quite a number of others who have come since then, from 1950s, 60s, and on to now, they really have come because they want to escape the persecution and escape the oppression and abuse that they were going through. Last night, I was listening to a program, and there were a number of an attorney and organization, and they were all talking about defending the right of the foreigners, undocumented visitors to America, and all that. I was thinking that at the time that I came to the state, there was no such a thing. Actually, foreigners were still treated, I guess they are still treated nowadays in certain parts of the country as very undesirable and unwelcome group of people. But then somehow, as they go along and as they adjusted to the life in America, they were welcome and accepted. And this has been true historically in this country, whether it was the Irish immigrant who came, and they went through a tremendous amount of prejudice until they were accepted. Then, of course, they were Italian, and then the Jews, the Spanish, the Chinese, the Persian, and all that. So this is what this country is made of. At the beginning, perhaps they have certain amount of animosity and being upset with the foreigners, but they realize sooner or later that really they are the backbone of this country, and they have helped to rebuild the country. There was also a note in the, I think it was New York Times, just to brag about Persian immigrants in America. The notion was there is about 1.5 million Iranian who have moved to America in recent years, and then it lined up the amount of their contribution, amount of the businesses they have started, amount of university job they're holding, and it seems that even though for the country of Persia, it was really a brain drain. All these folks could have stayed behind and could help to develop the country and all that, but they were all forced to leave and come here for a variety of reasons, and they are doing very well. And I think I mentioned in my last presentation that even though those Baha'is who are still in Iran and they withstand all the pressure, they are really the hero of this faith at this time. But then those who managed to leave and escape, most of them have become a very useful member of the Baha'i community throughout the world, in America, Canada, Europe, Australia. And they help form the assemblies, they help the contribution, they help the different aspects of progress of faith. And above and beyond all that, the name of the faith and Baha'i religion has become more known to the Western population because of the oppression that they have gone through. And the blessing also has come to the family of these people who have come here. I mean, they left the old country, they burned the bridges behind them, and they left their homeland. It's not that easy for average folks, especially when they get older, to leave everything behind and start fresh in a new country. But their children and their grandchildren has been a success story. I often tell the people, if I would not be a Baha'i, or my family, my ancestor would not have become Babi and Baha'i, most likely I would be still in the village of Neiris. Being a good Muslim, I could have 4 wives and many children, and have many goats and some lamb perhaps, and land and all that. You know, I have only 1 wife and I'm going crazy, but imagine if I would have stayed behind and have 4. No, I'm just kidding. Don't tell her that. So coming to America for me was really a dream. I managed to go to American Embassy, ask for help because I wanted to come to America to become a nuclear engineer. Did I mention this thing, Anne, last week? Did I? No, I forget
No,
really.
no, shortly. So
I talk so much about these things and about the different books. I don't know where I am, what books I'm discussing. Actually, this presentation I'm making tonight is a really preview and a practice for a major assignment I have on June 23rd. The city of Fort Worth, Texas, their public libraries have this huge program for the authors. And they have invited me to talk about the book Foreigner. So if you have any critical questions or any recommendation, it would be good to mention to me so I would not make the same mistake when I'm making that appearance. So I went to American Embassy and asked for help. I knew only a couple of hundred words of English, and somehow I understand Von Braun, rocket, moon, nuclear engineering. So they most likely they laugh at me, but meanwhile they gave me a directory of universities in America, and it seemed that there was 2 places that they would accept me as a nuclear engineer. One was Harvard and one was Columbia. Columbia turned me down right away. They said, sorry, fellow, you're not equipped and ready for that. But Harvard somehow, some way accepted me. Oh, you should see my family, especially my father. My father was a love to see his children progress educationally, because he himself, even though he had the great and brilliant mind, never get the opportunity to really develop it and getting anywhere. So he wanted so much that his children to make something out of the capacity that God gave them. So he was bragging to everyone, my son is going to America, he's going to Harvard, and he's going to be another Einstein, all this bragging. I love that. So, of course, I will tell you later on, I found out that it was not really not the Harvard that was accepted me, but it was a Howard, who happened to be a Black university in Washington, D.C. And I'm sure they were quite shocked and surprised why this crazy foreign student wants to come to Howard University in Washington, D.C. But of course, I have to change the plan and find another university. So I got my visa. I came. I stopped in Rome. By luck, I had the phone number for a very distinguished man by the name of Dr. Giagheri, who was a hand of a cause. Most likely some of you know him or know about him. So young man, fresh. So I asked somebody to call a number. So I called him. He knew some Persian. I knew a little English. I told him I'm in Rome airport and I don't know what to do. I have a gut feeling, this poor guy, there was a wonderful pioneer in Africa by the name Ahdieh, Hussein Ahdieh, who later on I think became a counselor, and he was for many years he sacrificed in that continent. I have a gut feeling this poor Dr. Giagheri thought I am his son. And so he was very welcoming and, oh, wonderful to hear from you. I was surprised, why is he so nice to me? And he get the taxi and come to my house. Jesus, it is wonderful. You arrive in Rome, a strange land, and the hand of a cause of God invite you to go to his house and stay with him. I thought I was son of the Hussein Ahdieh, entirely some different kids. So I went to his house, and was a handsome, tall, 6'7" man, foot tall, and a wonderful small wife, sweet short wife. And then I learned a lot from him. The very first night they made some spaghetti. I have to have a spaghetti. And it was, I don't know how many of you tried the first time to eat spaghetti. It's the most difficult food to eat. You have a fork, you have a knife, you have a spoon. Every time I pick up the spaghetti, come close to my mouth, I lose everything. I just could not manage to eat it. So this Giagheri came right behind me, big gentleman, hold my hand, one with the fork, one with the spoon, and try to, what they call it, twist the spaghetti around the spoon and manage it and bring it to my mouth. And so few times we did this until I learned how to eat a spaghetti. Yes, every time I have a spaghetti, I love Italian food. I remember Dr. Giagheri. And the funny part is that a few years later, I was in Sweden, in Stockholm, and there was at the Baha'i Center, and he was there. As soon as he saw me, he said, do you like eat spaghetti? so that was my experience with him. The girls in Italy, Rome were beautiful. You know, my picture of Rome was Sophia Loren and Gianlo Brigida. These were two famous Italian stars. I love to go to movie. Actually, my picture of America and Europe and all was all made out of the movies. Tarzan, Marilyn Monroe, Gene Kelly, Marcello Mastroianni, Gianlo Brigida, Sophia Loren. But the funny part was that I walk in the street of Rome, I see, my God, everyone is like Sophia Loren. You know, compared with my native Persian friends, were a little bit, you know, they all covered themselves with chador, had entirely different outlook of life. I spent a couple of 2-3 days in Rome. I went to London. I'm getting tired already. I'm getting excited. I got to London. I got off from the plane, and I had to get a taxi. Those beautiful taxis you should see. I don't know how many of you have seen those old-fashioned British taxis. Big black box-looking things. They had the light on the top, and the driver always wear a suit, black suit, and had the hats on. So he came and he opened the door for me and took my luggage. I was keeping eye on him, make sure he doesn't steal my luggage. And so he put the luggage in the back of the trunk of the car. And I could say, good hotel, good hotel. So son of a gun, he took me to one of the fanciest hotel in London. So I think called Grand Hotel. It was in Trafalgar Square. We got in the front of the hotel, parked there. These two gentlemen, each one of them was over 6 foot tall. You know, in my country, when somebody is tall and handsome, he become minister or become a senator or something. The little people don't get anywhere. But it was so they really look like the two Persian foreign minister and secretary of defense or something. They run to the taxi, they opened the door, and they took my luggage. And I was just wondering, what do they want from my life? No, they were doorman. They're trying to help me. So I came out. One of them took my luggage, and I remember I had this heavy, heavy overcoat. Oh my God! I felt like Alibaba in that coat and the white pants. So I ran after him and my luggage inside the hotel. Met the receptionist. Receptionist wants to keep my passport. I guess it was a do it. I refused to give him my passport. What are you kidding? They have told me, be careful with your passport. Don't give it to anybody, otherwise you'll be in big trouble. No, no passport, no, you are keep passport. But I had to. So next thing you know, they gave me a room on the, I don't know what floor was it, 12th, 11th floor. Never been in elevator before. The highest place I've been was in one of the mountains of my village in Neris, which was climbed the top of the mountain, which was probably 6, 7, 8, 9 stories. So first time in the elevator, the guy pushed the button, whoop, the machine took off and took me quickly to the floor, went to my room. What a room, what a luxury. Big bed, nicely made. Then the bathroom. I really thought the bathroom was a kitchen. You made rice in it. You could easily make rice in the toilet and cook your food there. So life was so good. I called a friend of mine, Behruz his name was. He said, Behruz, I had some phone number. You better come here. Life is beautiful. I have a good room. You can stay with me. So he came and stayed with me. Behruz had a good time for a few days. We visited the resting place of the Guardian. We went to different places, Soho and museum, Madame Tussauds and all that. So this was my memory of London. Got on the ship, Queen Mary. Took me 6 days to come to America on the ship. Paid $50. No, I could not afford the plane ticket. Got to New York. I had a cabinet mate. His name was, what was his name? I think Robin Leach. Later on, this guy became very famous. Remember there was a series on TV called Rich and Famous. He was interviewing all these people. He was a very good-looking English boy at that time. And he wanted to get the date and meet the girls on the boat. But usually the girls always travel in twos. So he would go and pick up the pretty one and leave me with the so-so one. And I had no idea what meant date, holding hands. I was scared. If I get too close to them, they get pregnant. So I would just avoid them, just have a conversation, mention Baha'i, me Baha'i, you know Baha'i, and life goes on. 6 nights and 6 days I was on the boat. Eating was a big problem because they bring you constantly food to the table, waiter was serving, and I had no idea what kind of food they are and what to do and what to eat and what not to eat. So I have to keep an eye on people around the table, see what they do. So whatever they order, I ordered the same thing. And so I had a good time, actually. Got to New York. Of course, at this point, I found out I was not going to Harvard. I was going to Howard. What a disappointment. But the reality of life hit me that, okay, now I'm in America and I have to survive. I miss my family. I was lonely. I was really depressed. What the hell? I came here. I could have stayed home, go to medical school, become a doctor, become engineer, lawyer, or something. But anyway, it was too late. So I'm here. I went to a school called St. Michael's College to learn some English. I was experienced too. A small college run by Jesuits and very serious, and they did a good job. I was there with them for 2-3 months. But the best part I can share with you, I have lots of stories about that college, but I just tell you about the cafeteria experience. No. In my country, milk is something quite scarce. And only time I remember my mother would give me some milk when I was very sick. They would go around and get some milk, they warm it up and they gave milk. But in this cafeteria, I see the kid go to a machine, they pull a handle down, and all this milk comes in the glass and they drink it. And I love to do that. I keep going in average 10 times, boom, keep pushing, and I was, where are the cows? So I really thought there were a bunch of cows behind the building, and they are all connected to this machine. So a couple of times I went behind the building looking for cows. Of course, I couldn't find any cows. That was the end of that. Another one. The way we drink tea, at least in my village, they have a hot tea in that special cups. You can see the tea through what they call
Glass.
Glass. And then there's a saucer under it. So what we do in my village, the people in the city, also are from Tehran, they don't do this. We are farmers. You put the tea in the saucer, and then there's a lump of sugar. Sugar is in lump. You put that lump of sugar in your mouth, and you go, keep drinking. But all these students were waiting to see what the hell is he doing. First, why he's drinking tea? Second, why he's taking this sugar and putting in his mouth and doing this kind of thing. So I think some of them even take my pictures. I should have kept one of those. What else? Oh, chicken. I love chicken because in my country, again, you don't get chicken. Only time I remember the chicken when Mr. Fruit and Hand of a Cause was in our house. And my mother got the chicken and cooked a chicken. And I was praying that he won't eat all of it or other guests. And will be something left for me. So I remember I got a piece of chicken that night. This is my memory of chicken. But I come to America, you just go over there, you told the guy behind the counter, chicken. And he would give you half a chicken in your plate. So day and night, I was eating chicken, and drinking milk, and milk. So this was, that's the story of St. Michael's College. Come to New York, broke, have no money, don't have any friends. I sound funny. I try to make it funny for myself. But it was a very depressing time. I want to let you know. I got the room for myself for $7, $1 a night. Even that was difficult to come by, $1 a night. First, I started to work illegally. I have to work because I had a student visa. And as a student, you're not supposed to work. You're supposed to go to school. So I had to work illegally. And the only place I could get a job was places that they could abuse me. They all did. I got a job in this brush factory. Have you seen? I think I have a picture I can show you later. We are making the brush, painting brush. The brush come from one side, the handle come from that side, and our job, the whole ponytail was, would pick up, put them together, boom, bang it, and goes down. And keep doing all day. We were supposed to connect this two pieces together. Of course, I get tired. And when you get tired, you lose the handle, it goes in a basket. And then in your spare time, during the break, you have to stay behind the machine and finish it. Then I go in the hotel as a, what do they call it, bellboy. But those luggages those days were so heavy, and they didn't have the wheel to pull it. So we have to carry it. And I was so little at that time, and I'm still are. So these heavy luggages was impossible to carry. What other job got? So I got a whole bunch of different jobs, and most of the job I was fired. And eventually I saw an ad in the paper. The ad is said, undertaker, $5 an hour, no experience necessary. I mean, how much experience you need to wash a dead body? So I had no idea what is undertaker. So I called them up and I said, I used to introduce myself as an American name, Jimmy, Davy, this. So I said, this is Jimmy, and I want a job. He said, okay, Jimmy, come, let's say Monday morning, 9 o'clock. And I went home. I told, at that time, I moved that $7 rent because I started university in New Jersey, I think at that time. And I was living in this German woman house. I rented the room. So I told her, Mrs. whatever, Tilden, I think, that from now on, you're going to have your rent on time. because I was always behind. So she was quite surprised. So, oh, Jimmy, how come you get a new job? I said, as of Monday, I'm going to be an undertaker, making $5 an hour. My God, you should see the expression on her face. Undertaker! She was so shocked. I guess people don't like to have an undertaker live in their house. She told me, Jimmy, you get that job, you get the hell out of my house. You're not going to live here as an undertaker. So that was my dream job, undertaker. Can you imagine if I would be undertaker and I write to my parents that I went to America to become nuclear engineer and get the Nobel Prize? No, I'm an undertaker. But then I found my dream job. Guess what was my dream job? I became a full-fledged dishwasher. This was really unbelievable. They feed me food. I could even take some food home, leftover from the customer. I would take it home for next day. The pay was not bad, and it was a night job. So during the day, I could go to college, university, and at nighttime, I could work as a dishwasher. So I was a dishwasher for a while. I have lots of things happen to me as a dishwasher. I give you one instance, for example, what happened. Don't cry for me, okay? There was a big wedding. It's this restaurant I work for. Oh, how I get this? I would, on the weekend, I could work full time, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because I had no school. I go to this agency on 46th Street and 8th Avenue, New York. They call Roma agency. And you give the man $1 and you sit and wait. The restaurant would call when they are short of waiter, dishwasher, or cook. They would give you address to send you. So for a dishwasher, I only give him $1. That was his fee. He gave me a direction. I went to this Italian restaurant, and that particular night, there was a wedding. Big, beautiful wedding, music, rock and roll, tango, whatever they were dancing. And I was this old man who was a dishwasher was helping him and wash. And you know, the Italian foods and the way they eat, God help them, antipasto, soup, salad, main dish, dessert, this. And these dishes will keep coming and coming, 200-300 guests. At some point, I was really almost ready to faint. So I decided to take a short break. By now, of course, my apron and my clothes was so dirty. My hair was in my face. I was sweating. Then I heard this beautiful music. Those who are familiar with the kitchen, you know, there's a revolving door between the kitchen and dining room. And so I went and opened the door, stayed there and watched the girls and boys dancing and enjoyed the air condition and enjoyed. Some son of a gun complained to the manager, who is this unpleasant looking boy standing there? They didn't like the look of me. So manager came, he held me, it was a big Italian guy, hold me by my shoulder and shoved me through this revolving door. I hope he goes to hell. So I fall down on the kitchen floor, hit my head against this refrigerator in the kitchen, and blood started to come all over the place. They have to call the ambulance, get me an ambulance, take me to the hospital and stitch the wound. A few days later, I went there to collect my money for 5-6 hours of work. He chased me out of the restaurant. He said, do you know how much headache you caused me that night? Do you know how much I have to pay the ambulance to take you to the hospital? So I was afraid he may hit me. So I left that place. Anyway, life was going on, but until, where am I? Some good thing was happening then. The big fear I have those days, by the way, is the fear of deportation. Because if immigration office would find out that I'm working, and if my grade would go down, which they started already go down, and because I was too exhausted, you know, you work 8-9 hours, then go to school, and then this and that, you have homework, engineering was not the easy subject. So I was often at the verge of being deported. Or anytime I get notice from immigration office to go there to renew my visa or to have an night before, I could not sleep. What they're up to, are they going to renew my visa and or not? So life going on for quite some time. Many good things happen, of course, at the same time. In 1963, for example, with a group of a couple other Persian and myself, an American boy. We all went to Washington, D.C. to participate in Martin Luther King big march in Washington, 63. And it was an amazing occasion. We had to sleep in the car. Of course, we could not afford a hotel or motel. And we listened to some home lectures, talks. I remember John Lewis was one of them, Martin Luther King, some of the big civil rights leaders, they were in that occasion involved in a march. And I was hoping that one day in Iran, similar thing would happen. There would be changes in that country. How little I knew the changes would come, but would be worse than it was before. Suddenly, I don't know, this woman came along, and for some strange reason, she accepted to marry me. Her name was Tahere. I think she may be here tonight.
She is.
Is she there? No,
And Linda is there too.
Linda is there too. God bless them. So anyway, this lady came along, and it was a perfect arrangement. She was good looking. She was a doctor. She was from a good family. She, on the top of all that, she had green card. It was heavenly. So I don't know why she married me, but she agreed. So we married, and the door of heaven opened. I bought $200 from a friend to arrange for the wedding. I bought her a false diamond ring for $10. Our wedding cost $40. We had the turkey, we had some salad and some cookies for a dinner. All the New York Special Assembly members showed up. I don't know why they all showed up. We had such a little food, but anyway, they enjoyed themselves. And some other guests, we had to go to my friend's apartment. Majid was my hero. He was a garage manager. Can you imagine what the life was like that? And he had the car. Can you imagine? And he had an apartment. So for me, he has made the American dream. So we had our wedding in his apartment. And so that was when my story of getting married to Tahireh and having wonderful life after that. Things become much easier, because by then, of course, I became more back in the Baha'i circulations, and she was leading quite a good Baha'i life for the kids and all that, and that's the entirely different story. I don't want to go talk too much Baha'i faith at this point and all the wonderful thing that happened, because I want to make sure that in my presentation, which is coming up on June 23rd in Fort Worth, Texas, of course, I will make a reference to Baha'i faith, but I don't want to come across as a constantly talk about Baha'i, Baha'i, Baha'i. It has to be sort of a different approach. So my acquaintance with Black people started with the going to march in DC for Martin Luther King. Then, of course, all those times that I was working in the restaurants and in the different jobs, many of my co-workers were young Black men and women, and I would often listen to their stories that they talk about their ancestors who were brought to America as slaves and all the suffering and all the problems they went through. And little by little, I realized, my God, their story is so similar to what my family and Babis and Baha'is went through in Persia. The same Ku Klux Klan that would come at the middle of night, they burn a cross in your porch, and they grab them out of the house, and they lynch them, and they burn them, and they do all kind of, this was very much the same that was happening to my village, to the Babis and Baha'is. In 1909, some of my close relatives, actually they killed them and they hanged them by a tree and they burned them. So this sort of suffering that I see in their background and my background, it creates certain affinity among us that later on, when opportunity comes to join a school called Harlem Prep, it was, I felt very comfortable, and I did so, and I developed lots of friendship with many good people in that occasion, and many of them actually the leading civil rights leaders in America at that point. I would say, with the exception of Martin Luther King himself, I have met all of them because they all wanted to support Harlem Prep. All these top musicians, Dizzy Gillespie, Sammy Davis Jr., Pete Seeger, I have some pictures that I'm going to show you, and the politicians and Whitney Young, and I can go on and on, mention the name of the people who came across the Harlem Prep and helped us. Life has been good, and I'm very grateful, really, what America has done. America has given me and many people like me an opportunity to fulfill our dreams. If nothing else, the ability to sit here and talk to you and tell you what is in my mind and my heart without fear of being picked up by police during the Shah's regime or picked up by this unpleasant element of Muslim fanatics is a really a blessing, and we should take advantage of that. I'm going to take a break, and Tatiana or Anne would show some pictures, and then I may be able to read one or two passages from my book. Go ahead, Anne, please. This is the Queen Mary. Is the ship I came to America. It was an ocean liner. It was a huge, and right now it has become a hotel, which is in the Long Beach, California. It's quite a huge, one of the biggest. There were two ships that was built to those days. One was Queen Elizabeth, one was Queen Mary, and I came on this for $50 cross. And I'm next. This is exactly how life was when we arrived in New York, on the west side of Hudson River. That's not me, but so that's.
I'm sure you had the same smile.
Yeah, that's right. That biggest next. Oh, this is the view of Manhattan is really now, of course, many other big cities look like this: Shanghai, Hong Kong, and other places. But at that time, 1960s, the view of New York was magnificent. There's hardly any other place in the world that was like it. And then at nighttime, when the light goes on, it really becomes a city of life. And when Frank Sinatra sing the song, "Give My Regard to Broadway," I think he was talking about that time, that the Broadway was such a pleasant place to be. All the movie houses and all that. Oh, another thing that I should tell you, shortly after I came was, I think, April, or it was kind of very cold in New York. And you notice that in New York, in the winter time, there are steam coming out of this opening in the streets. I don't know, because of the underground subways and all that. And I really thought they're doing all this to warm up the city. So I wrote to my parents, my father, that these folks are so advanced that in the winter time, they have a system underground that the steam comes out and warm everybody up above the ground. What a great idea if they could do that. Next. I love this, this was my dream. As I mentioned earlier, my picture of America was really all out of movies. That's all I remember, because I used to go and sometimes see 2-3 movies a day. And Gene Kelly, Marilyn Monroe, Gregory Peck, and these were all my favorite characters. And I thought if I come to America, I would have the same life. I would get myself a yellow car and drive in the California highways and don't let anything bother me. And I would have beautiful girls and all that. How little I knew that I would downgrade my dreams, and I become a dishwasher. And some night, because I could not afford my rent, I would sleep on the bench on Broadway on 76th Street. Next. Yeah, she was very popular those days. Marilyn Monroe. Next. This is a good friend of mine did this painting. This is how cute I was when I was a kid. And then she did a little painting, illustration that shows the New York background and the little boy making his dream coming here. Next. same thing. I'm lost on the Brooklyn Bridge. Next. Oh, this is Charlie Chaplin. And every time I see this picture, I remember days I used to work in that brush factory. Exactly the same thing, that thing come from both sides, you have to catch up. And you really go crazy after a while. And I don't know how many of you have seen the scenes in his movies, but this was my story also. Next. What is this now?
This is the post office.
Oh, post office. Oh, it's another one. He had a job. It was not a post office. It was a mail delivery system, and its bags were so big and so heavy. And if you believe me, I have to pick them up and carry them different places. I'm sure I got fired from that job too. Next. Oh, this was, if I would have taken that job as an undertaker, this would be my life. That's it. I thought I'd show you how the undertakers look like. They usually, the folks who work in funeral house, they're all very good looking and they wear a tie and a suit. I don't know why they have to always be so short. Next. Oh, this was a nice kitchen area. How you work in a good restaurant. Next.
The next show reality.
Oh, that's a dishwasher. Oh yeah. I have become such a good dishwasher. Actually, it's so funny. Even this, until recently, whenever we have even big parties in our house, I have a tendency of going toward the kitchen and begin to wash dishes. The sound of running water and wash the dishes and put them in the machine and put them away, it's just so fulfilling. Says, or remind me of my old days. Next. Oh, this is a place I used to live, a hotel. And right behind it was the building. And next. Oh, this was one of the courses I was taking at university was with a man, quite distinguished, a guy called James Roosevelt, who was the son of the President Roosevelt. And this is Mrs. Roosevelt, James' mother. So a couple of months before she died, she came to school and to her son class. And by luck, I was one of the students in the class. So I remember she asked, she was always very fond of meeting foreign students, doing something for foreigner. So she asked, is there any foreign student in the class? And I was the only one. So I got up and some local reporter took my picture with Mrs. Roosevelt. Next. Oh, this is the, she looks very good those days. I mean, she's still all right. This is Tahara and me. Next. And this is the school I got involved, Harlem Prep. It's a group of students. It's a whole story behind this that I think I have talked about this. Maybe I'll do it again in the future. A story of Harlem Prep. These days, with all this discussion about the race and all the trouble, I often tell people that these are the example of what can be done instead of just talking and talking. That the group of people get together and then do something viable and something worthwhile for the both races.
What class is this one?
This was, I think, media class. They were, the great deal of money came from different foundations. One of the foundation who gave us lots of money was Union Carbide, and they made a condition that this was to develop our media and photography department, and which we did. And I think I see the cameras was one of the cameras that we bought with their money. Next. It's another scene from Harlem Prep. There was no such thing as a classroom. It was a huge open space, 2 floors, the whole block of New York block. And before that, there was a fancy supermarket, but a couple of their managers get shot and they died. So they have to leave. So they gave us the space for quite a free almost. And then with the help of and Rockefeller and others, we we made it nicely, the open space. Next. That's my good friend, Robert Wilkin. He was our science teacher. At this point, I was an assistant headmaster of the school, and was a big shot. It's always good to go move to administration. So you make sure you keep your job. And so I was working hard those days, really. And me and Ed Carpenter and his wife Anne was really the people who were at that point were running the show. Next. Oh, this is the good-looking guy on the left is Ushman Taraz. The guy on the right, I think his name is Roston. He was the one who organized the famous march of Martin Luther King to Washington. He was the main organizer. And he was, this is either a Baha'i gathering or Harlem Prep gathering. I'm not sure what. And the one in the middle is me. Oh, Robert Hayden was a wonderful sweetheart. He, even though he was the most famous poet at the time, that when he was alive, and he came to Harlem Prep a number of times, and he read his poetry to our students, and he was a Baha'i. And I spent lots of time with him after his presentation. He would stay overnight, and we spent the night with him, restaurant for dinner. And we used to love to go to this Greek restaurant in New Jersey that he enjoyed their food very much. Next. Oh, this is another friend, good man, Pete Seeger. I'm sure you have heard about him, famous folk singer. And, you know, he was responsible for cleaning up Hudson River. Hudson River was quite polluted. And what he did single-handedly, of course, with the help of others, he got himself this boat that would sail along the Hudson River for a couple of years and try to popularize the idea that the Hudson River is dying. And then he forced the authority to come up with all kinds of ways of getting rid of the pollution and that dirty water of Hudson River. And he wanted to get some of our students from Harlem Prep involved in his project. And I was helping him to get those students on board. Next. Maybe that's last one.
No. We have document with few quotations from the book.
Oh, we have a quotation, okay.
Yeah. You can actually read them.
I can read the quotation, yeah. What I'd like to do, actually, you want to read it? No,
No,
I should
I-
read it myself.
Here.
Okay, it's there, but I have the paper in front of me. It's too far for me to read. I read it from here. This is a quote from the book, The Foreigner, that Hilary Chapman and myself wrote it. It's a very popular book, and it would come, soon as it's been translated, it's going to be published by a wonderful publishing house in California in Persian language. So I strongly recommend saving your money and buy a copy. And this is a quote from that book. Everything that I knew about America, I had learned from movies. America had the street where Gene Kelly danced and sang in the rain, and a street like Broadway lined with brightly lit movie houses and theater. American women were Marilyn Monroe, being teased and flirtatiously untrained by Tony Curtis. American men were Gurry Peck wooing Audrey Hepburn. America was beautiful people in colorful, expensive clothing, smiling happily in large cars driving around. At this point of my life, I should have already taken the entrance exam for Iranian University and be looking forward to a life of medicine, engineering, law, or agriculture, which would have led me to a calmer, more predictable future. But I was 19 years old in 1961 and full of dreams, and I had just enough money to make them possibility. Life in Iran under the welter of the mullah, hatreds, and dictatorship of the Shah and his officer felt very restrictive. I was jealous of the people who could pursue their ambitions. I decided to go to America. With money in my pocket from my mother's inheritance, I was ready to make my move. And there's other quotes and all that, but I'm tired of it. Okay, I finished my presentation. And if there is any question, I don't mind at all to answer any question you have. Is George there?
No.
It was a wonderful presentation, and it was very humorous besides, and delightful. Enjoyed it so much.
Thank you, dear. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, it's there were very funny parts and and sad parts, and I think it was a nice mix of both. Yeah, I think everyone who comes to America is maybe a lot of families are fleeing from something to a new dream. So I think that's a very universal feeling.
Yeah.
Well, it was wonderful to thank you, Anne, again for this late night opportunity. I think I wonder how does your kid think about you staying up so late and doing this kind of things.
His bedtime is perhaps later than it should be.
Maybe.
It'll have to be earlier because he'll be going to school.
That's kind of typical to Baha'i kids, actually, to stay late. Friends, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to see your faces and hope to see you again soon. And carry on the spirit of the faith with you wherever you go.
Adios, amigos.
Love you.
Love all of you.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Take
Good
care.
night.
Night.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night, sweetie.